Hey, Troll World, and welcome back to the Troll Time Show. I'm your host, Ivan D. Curtis, aka the Troll King, and this is the show where we talk sports, movies, or anything thought provoking. Today we're in WNBA news. We'll be talking about the trade that took place, a lot of wavering going on, WNBA expansion, and of course, the WNBA Commissioner's Cup Championship. If you follow this show, you know I don't do it alone. Hey, Willie and Boredy, how you doing today?
I
Six,
am
it's on
good.
you.
Yes, ladies first, Boredy. Hey,
Ladies,
yeah.
gentlemen, I appreciate it. And two gentlemen that actually watched the game too, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I am doing good. I am feeling great, man. Life is busy, but a lot of good things happen, including shout out to Autumn Johnson. Obviously, you know, OG. I forgot to talk about this before. She had a nice little summit. We took a picture together. I forgot to post it in the group chat and be like, guess who I saw? But yeah, guess who I saw? So shout out. She said, "What's up, OG?" So shout out.
Yeah, you know what? I need to hit her up. I need to hit her up. I'm doing a reboot of the OG Two Cents podcast. I definitely need to tap back in with her. Hey, Willie, what's going on with you in Texas, man?
Hey, I'm happy to be here talking about this game that we love that never ceases to amaze us and offers us all sorts of things to talk about. But I'm actually happier that we got our family reunion. We got the
Mhm.
whole team on the set, so
Mhm.
let's get it. I'm happy.
Um, Before we get anything, the WNBA announced expansion. Cleveland 2028, Detroit 2029, and Philadelphia 2030. There was a lot of chit chat going on about the cities that was accepted. I read that the big surprise was in the Tennessee Summit Group. The Pat Summit Group got denied. And when you look at the star power that was behind that summit, it's pretty shocking that they got denied. I'm not. We'll say that for because that can hold up a whole segment by itself. But when you talk about Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, Peyton Manning, Candace Parker, and all that star power, and to get denied was kind of crazy. And on top of that, Tennessee would have a crazy fan base down there. So I want to get your thoughts, hey Willie. Like I said, Cleveland 2028, Detroit 2029, and Philadelphia 2030. What's your thoughts, really quick?
Um, for people that don't know about their history, I let me tell you, I got some personal touches and personal experiences as it relates to Detroit. And even though we haven't had the shock and the W for known as the shock, right? They are now the Dallas Wings. With that being said, I have personal experience here. My first foray into the league, when I was working in NBA and WNBA basketball ops, I took the job and literally went to Detroit to watch Detroit close out the Sparks. And when you start talking about a madhouse, a madhouse, again, people forget about that rivalry, Detroit and LA, when that was going on, because again, the Wings are the Detroit Shock, right? But it's Detroit Shock, Tulsa Shock, Dallas Wings. So, with that being said, I was in the building when Detroit closed out LA, and I had to be partial because I was working for the league, but I was watching my Sparks get closed out. But I say that because you were talking about a basketball city. They call it Rock City. What we call the pier, the Rock, right? Like so. So with that being said, it's amazing that we have people that think that Detroit isn't a rich basketball, men and women, basketball spot. I'm happy just to see the expansion because I also think we need to get to the rosters expanding. That's another story for another day. But overall, I'm happy to see the expansion. And here's the other thing for those people that are complaining about the cities that were chosen. We ain't done yet. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Bordy, your thoughts on the cities that were chosen for expansion?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'll get to it a little bit later, that the Tennessee group especially underlined the fact that it was NBA affiliated or chosen cities that were specified, and that's interesting. We'll get to that. But in terms of like the grander league in general, I like the somebody said that Detroit and also another or place in Cleveland wasn't popping. And I think that Detroit especially, and also too, yeah, shout out OG, he godly got it, and also Philly, like as well. Those two teams, I'm so excited to go there in particular when it comes to like hanging out and having a good time. Also, too, OG, I know you're excited because this is also like much closer to you to be able to go to a game. But I think it's really cool that we have expansion available. The league has to uh, work accordingly to make sure that the expansion goes well, because I think there's a lot of available talent out there, but the league also needs to realize that you have to pay in order for that, to make sure you can get as much talent as you need to, which I'll also get into. But I'm excited to see how nasty or how fun or how whatever that Philly group is going to be, because, one thing we know about Philly sports is that they can be work pieces of art. And so when the WNBA and Philly go together, it's going to be an interesting experience, and I can't wait.
And somebody that we know their contract expires right when Philly is coming online. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
No, I think what Boredy was alluding to about about the cities that was chosen. Sophie Cunningham, she made some comments about that, and I kind of piggyback to the fact that me being from the Midwest is like most people are not excited about going to play in the Midwest unless you're from here. Like I mean, Indiana, it's a rich basketball, place. And if they have a good team, of course, yeah, you want to go play there. But aside from that, hey, the choice is yours. I mean, I love being from Ohio because it's slow, and I'm a slow guy. Like I mean, I can care less about the big city and fast pace and stuff like that. But if you're a pro athlete, I don't think you marking the Midwest on as a destination of where you want to go, especially when you got the L.A., Texas, Las Vegas, a lot of places like that. I mean, so yeah, that too, yeah. So it'd be real interesting to see what those teams. Of course, I remember the Bill Laimbeer teams in Detroit
Mhm.
was really good, and then the Cleveland Rockers. I was a big ABL fan back in the day. The Columbus Quest, and I won't even go all the
Yeah.
way back and talk about those teams, but I'm glad to see.
But OG, to your point, they actually had more. That league was actually had better players.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's Katie Smith. I was a big Columbus Quest fan. But yeah, it's just good to see the growth and see where the game is going. It's going to be interesting to see what those fan bases are looking like. I think it's going to revive a lot of the basketball culture in those cities, because both of them are all three of them are rich in basketball culture when you talk about that. So um, hats off to those teams. Now getting into some of the transactions that took place. It's been active. I am not going to talk about all of them, but the Nalissa Smith trade. Nalissa Smith was traded to the Las Vegas Aces for a 2027 first round pick. Um, you know, we talk about Nalissa Smith all the time, and I think it's this might be the destination where they get the max out of her. Nobody's been able to get the max out of her, but I think if she's playing alongside Asia Wilson, I think that's going to be enough to get her going. In the backcourt, you talk about Jackie Young and Jewel Lloyd. She's playing around some veterans, something she's never done like throughout her career. She's always been in a situation where she has to be the one, a key player, and I think she's never had a chance to grow into that role. And I think being in Las Vegas, that's what's gonna happen. I mean, when you get a chance to see how Asia works day in and day out, prepares for games day in and day out, it can seep into to you. And I mean, I think that's exactly what's gonna happen to her. Your thoughts on the Melissa Smith trade and Dallas Wings? I like the move for Dallas because they got to free up um, some room because it's crowded over there, man. Coach Jesus is having a hard time figuring out who to play, who not to play, and I think this makes it easier for him, if you ask me. So, and won't even get to the aspect of her and Dejanay Carrington. I mean, it's a big blow because, of course, Alyssa Smith said, caught her blindside. Like, she was caught off guard by the trade, which is, hey, Willie, you and I know it can be respected to make someone aware of a trade, but we don't have to tell you. Like, it's nowhere in the laws or the rule books that you have to tell somebody that's getting traded. It's just a part of the business. That's why I always say take care of yourself. Loyalty. That loyalty word is overused in business. It sounds cute, but at the end of the day, people are going to make the best moves for their organizations, and I felt like that's what they did. Hey, Willie, your thoughts on the Alyssa Smith trade?
Um, I think it's a good move for, especially when you got the 2027 first round pick, because who knows where that pick's going to be in 27 as we're looking at what's going on with the Aces, and we're talking about some of the things that they may have to do to continue to retool their roster. That 27 draft has the potential to be a really, really good one if you're projected. So if you're Dallas and you get offered that, of course that's negotiated. Like, I don't know if Vegas called. It's like, hey, we're going to offer you a 2027 first round pick for, that these things are negotiated. So, so to get that pick, I think it's a good move. But to your point, like you said, I also think it's a good move for Alyssa Smith as well, because who better to be around than the best person in the world at your position, and to watch the preparation before you get to the game, to watch the preparation in the off season and be privy to that. It's one thing to see it from afar. It's another thing to see it up close and personal. So, and we have been talking about, we said even before the beginning of the year, granted she's coming off an ACL, that Vegas was for not only their team, but also for Asia as well. They were going to have to get something from Liz Kidley. They weren't getting that from Liz Kidley. So good for them to go ahead and move on and get another post player that offers some scoring that can play with it. Of course, they have Meg Gustafson coming back. Of course, they have Stokes as well. But Alyssa Smith, when she's right and she's engaged, gives you that scoring element from the front court as well. And we've seen Asia with another front court player that can score, whether it's when she was playing with Liz Cambage or when she was playing with big guards. So adding that with Asia, I think is really, really good for Vegas too. So this is one of those, in my estimation, and again, we got to watch it play out, but this is one of those win-win trades that you rarely see.
Boredy, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was an interesting trade. First of all, Kurt Miller, last day of Pride. How dare you? You're a gay man. You're supposed to be for the gays. Like, that's crazy to go ahead and break apart families. Just wait one day. No, I'm kidding. It happens when it happens. It is interesting, though. I do want to just see how it plays out. The fact that Kurt actively said the whole reason that I got Melissa in the first place was to get Dejanay. And now that he traded Nay as soon as he could, it is interesting to see how that relationship works out, but that's a different thing. Maybe it's business, maybe it's interesting because Dejanay and the coach already seem to be in the tough, but who knows. When it comes to the actual merit of the trade itself, I think the 27 draft is a very top-heavy draft, and I think that even towards that bottom first, let's say that in 2027, the Aces, after the 26 free agency, are able to get Asia again, and then Asia is able to rally her troops to make sure they can retool and be a contending team again, then that's still going to be a great pick, even if it's towards the end of the first, because there's still a lot of value, I feel like, in that top portion of the draft. It is more top heavy than the more recent drafts, but it is also still like valuable in that lower first round echelon, or at least projected to be so. So I think that's pretty good for the outlook of Dallas, especially after trading that pick for Lee LaRue. And also it allows them to free up, like OG said. But I think that for the Aces, they had scoring sometimes, and this does like relieve a little bit of scoring pressure off of Asia. But I think that defensively, I think that's where they really need Asia to get a lot more relief from. And that's where Cheyenne Parker Tyus, I'm hoping, with you cutting Tiffany Mitchell, with you cutting Liz Keatley, maybe she's filling back in, or also too, rumors Dewana Bonner might also be in talk. So that's interesting to see if Dewana actually ends up going to the Aces. I think that will be an even better move for them. Obviously, any type of relief when it comes to scoring for Asia will work well. So temporarily, this is good. But in terms of how it actually affects Vegas in the standings, Melissa needs to commit to better defensive play. She did when she was in Dallas, and she's had games in Dallas. So hopefully with more consistency, working along with Asia, who, like can not only communicate well, but then also to have your back. Hopefully that works out well for them. But it's the relief for Asia. How much does it help her defensively? That's interesting to see play out. So who knows how it'll work out for Vegas standing wise, but temporarily this is good for them.
Got you. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the notable players that's been waived over the last few days or so. Megan McConnell was waived by the Phoenix Mercury. Odyssey Sims getting waived. It puts me in the same vibe with Ari McDonald. They show up no matter what roster they're on, no matter how long they're there. They show up and produce. So I know without a doubt somebody, Chicago, man, like do something, do something, because you need a guard. But I thought LA was gonna be the home, but I knew once they brought in Kelsey Plum, time would probably be ticking, because of course you got Ray Burrell, young budding player, you got Rakia Jackson. They got a slew of wings that can play the 2 or 3 with size, with length, and that kind of starts eliminating some of the smaller guards. You don't need them. Kelsey Plum is another high volume guard as well. So I still like the Sparks, but I hate to see Odyssey Sim out there like that.
Can I say? I think they do need her playmaking. That's what disappoints me, because I think that Las Vegas needs some more not Las Vegas. Los Angeles needs some better playmaking. And Kelsey Plum, she tried her best earlier on, but it's still, she's not her point. And Odyssey was as close as you had in that regard. So that's why I wasn't too keen on the move for Los Angeles, and for Odyssey too. Stop making her a part-time employee, please. Anyway, continue, Yoshi.
Yeah, my Dayton, Ohio native, Bree Hall, she was waived by Golden State. Which if you're out there and you don't really understand, during certain times of the WNBA season, especially when you have the Euro basketball going on, a lot of these players get brought in temporarily. They know what the deal is. They're getting brought in to relieve players that went to go play for their respective country. Now you have, players coming back. Chloe Bibby, she got waived as well. But you got Salon coming back. Now the biggest shocker, aside from Odyssey Sims, was Julie Van Loo.
They know on these point guards, man. We love point guards on this show.
Yeah,
y'all talking about
that was a shocker. Now, without a doubt, I feel like her and Sims got to be at the top for any teams looking for guard play. I don't want to hear anything about Van Loo's age or anything like that. She can play. I think those two should be on the roster now. Julie Alamán is back for LA, which is a positive for them. She was playing well. Of course, Petty got released. Lua King got signed for the rest of the season contract with Dallas Wings. Love her game. I think that's a great signing for Dallas. They need players that's going to show up and produce. And a lot of times when I look at some of these players who are not producing, most of the time it's just effort. It's not the lack of talent or ability. It's just the effort night in and night out. Now, talking about this, and I'm being ready to pass it back to you, Bordy, for Bordy's bookmarks. But the WNBA plays no games when it comes to the scheduling, because here it is. You look up, and we'll get to this later on. But that Fever and Minnesota played last night, and then tomorrow we got 5 games on the docket, and the Fever is one of them. So it's like, man, you got. So when I talk about effort night in and night out, it's got to be people that's gonna bring it, because the schedule is not favoring all the time. Bordy, I'm gonna pass it to you for Bordy's bookmarks. What you got for us today?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what the expansion means for the NBA with the CBA and in relation to the NBA, because expansion recently just was announced to several cities. It's 6 new cities, I believe, all the way up until 2030. I apologize. So back to back to back to back, we're going to get a lot of new teams right off the docket to end up going into the league. Now, obviously, at the same time that we know the 26 CBA hangs over the head of the league in general. And it's interesting because the NBA has a lot to do with how the CBA works and how expansion works. Recently, the teams that were announced were all teams that already have established NBA teams, which is why teams and places like the Tennessee group made sure to point out they don't have an NBA team. Memphis does, but not that part of Tennessee and the group that was trying to go ahead and declare a bid for an expansion team. We're not affiliated with the NBA. The NBA, however, is over the entire WNBA. It is basically a branch of it, right? And it becomes an interesting question when you have all of these different teams, and now suddenly all these NBA front offices previously before they were not interested in investing in the WNBA, but now that there's a whole bunch of attention, mainly driven from players, they are suddenly remembering to quote unquote invest in the WNBA. But if the NBA wants this expansion to work and wants this to actually be profitable for the WNBA and for the NBA in itself, I don't know how much they want that to happen. Well, but if they want that to happen, they need to actually invest in the players in the CBA, in particularly the foreign players as well. This CBA is going to be interesting. Recently, it was Satu who said that unfortunately they were offered a CBA and it was not fair. I think it's interesting though when you ask players, especially foreign players, why they don't join the WNBA. It's because they feel like they don't have fair compensation. And although I am one of the people who was very strong in the quality of drafts that are coming up, I think 26 has potential to be the deepest draft of all time, which is great because it's coming when we have 2 expansion teams coming at the same time. It's also very important for the WNBA to realize that its investment in the foreign game is how this expansion doesn't end up flipping on its head, and that we don't have a sudden degradation when it comes to the quality of talent. The foreign game has to be an investment. And there's teams like the Valkyries who do understand and realize that, hey, we do need to have a foreign presence. And it seems like the WNBA is aware of that. But are they aware about the fact that you need to make sure the compensation is right in order for players who are playing for these foreign clubs to come over? There are players like Emma Misamum. We remember them. GMs remember her too, because they still said she's one of the greatest players, foreign players in the WNBA, and she hasn't played in the league in 3 years. Literally, that just happened in the GM report, the president report. She hasn't played because they don't have enough compensation in relation to the foreign teams. In order for the WNBA to expand and the NBA to actually get what they want from the WNBA and not just siphon money off of it, which the way that they move sometimes feels like it is, they have to make sure that they invest in it totally and actually pay the players what they're worth and crush the CBA out the park and actually give the women money. That's the only way this league grows. That's the only way you can make profit from it. And also, too, it's the only way that you can expand effectively. We have a lot more questions about the NBA. What will happen as more games happen, more teams happen? Their schedule is going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting how the NBA plays that out. It's also going to be interesting, too, how willing are you going to be to make sure that you have continued development in all branches and investment and marketing in the WNBA, and it's not led by players? These are questions that the NBA really has to ask itself, because you're trying to make sure, if you're really trying to be serious about this product, it has a lot of potential. Invest in it and it'll invest into you. But if you're just trying to get money off the top of it, hey, you can have all these teams that are going ahead and buying them, and that's great, but it's going to stay stagnant and it's going to end up failing if you don't get serious about the product in itself. So the NBA, do better. Please don't ruin this CBA with your arrogance.
Well put, Bordy. Well put. Now for the main event. Last night, the Indiana Fever defeated the Minnesota Lynx 74-59 to win the 2025 Commissioner's Cup, which is a $500K prize pool. Not too bad. Natasha Howard led all scorers with 16 points, grabbed 12 rebounds, dished out 4 assists, had 2 steals. Aaliyah Boston, 12 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and I say that with a smile, and Willie knows why. We definitely get, because we've been on Aaliyah Boston something tough. Kelsey Mitchell, 12 points, 3 assists. Ari McDonald, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks. And then Sophie Cunningham came off the bench for 13 points, 7 rebounds, shot 3 for 5 from the 3. Now, on the other hand, you had Elena Smith. Seemed like the only one that really clocked in last night for the Minnesota Lynx. She had 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Shot 3 for 7 from 3, 5 for 11 from the field. Nafisa Collier struggled last night, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. And then Courtney Williams, 11 points, 4 rebounds, shot 4 for 14. And then Jessica Shepard, 9 points, 5 rebounds. It's a tough night for Minnesota, but I will say this, and this is not discrediting the Fever. The Fever made it tough. I mean, Minnesota, they normally get a strong whistle at home. Everybody knows that. And it's often because they're the aggressor. But last night, they kind of met their match. They had a little taste of their own medicine. Howard and Boston was not backing down. I kind of like angry Aaliyah Boston, man. Like they need that. They talking about enforcer, but it ultimately has to come from her. Forget Sophie. Like Aaliyah's in the middle. She's in the midst of it. She's in the middle with the banging and the scrapping and the clawing and all that. So she has to assert herself early and often, and she did that last night. Nobody was shooting particularly well in this game. It was kind of it was a rock fight. And I think Indiana went on a run, to stretch the lead and get the game under control. But when you look at it, Indiana only shot 42% from the field and 42% from the 3. They were up 100% from the free throw line. They went 12 for 12. Now Minnesota, on the other hand, they was 22 for 63, 35, almost 35%. They couldn't beat us shooting that bad. 25% from 3, 4 for 16, 11 for 14 from the free throw line. Now, even with that saying that they normally get a strong whistle, they shot more free throws than Indiana. The one thing I just want to say, man, because I'm somebody who's been rocking with the Fever, rocking with Caitlin Clark. Largely, I rock with the Fever because I'm a Kelsey Mitchell fan. Like I said, her and my daughter played together. I got to know her family. I was cool with her dad, and, mom, everything like that. So, but I want people who claim to be Fever fans is like, it's cool to be hard on players. It's cool to be hard. We all are critical. All fans are critical. All people in the media are critical. The only thing I'm saying is that when they play well, give them credit. When people play like shit, hey, give them shit. But when they play well, give them credit. Like that's not. I'm all for the jokes and everything, or whatever. Whatever you got to throw out there when somebody played bad. And I'm mainly saying that because when Aaliyah Boston had her stretches where she was playing like crap, the people was letting her hit. Like so, give her her credit. When Natasha Howard was playing like crap, because I seen some people go, hey, she's terrible and all this. They all on my post saying it, but she's helped them win some games when other players were struggling. And last night it showed improved. Like, I mean, now to top it off before I pass the ball, man, you talk about the basketball guys. If Ari McDonald never returns, hey, this probably wasn't possible. I mean, she is that valuable. I mean, she was 5 for 6 and 2 for 3 from three. Like, I mean, she's pretty efficient. She's gonna give you great perimeter defense, which is they're lacking from sometimes because Kelsey Mitchell is more in the lanes. She plays steady on ball defense, but she's more in the passing lanes, getting steals and stuff. But Ari McDonald she's up in you. Like she's taking away the other team's point guard, and it's no surprise because like you look, Courtney Williams was 4 for 14 last night. Like it was tough, and she's hard to cover because she really has one of the best offensive half court games of most of the PGs in the league because she's a mid-range assassin. And she can knock down a three, and she can get to the rim. Like she's probably one of the better 3-level scorers at PG in the W. So I just want to say that. But man, hats off to the Fever. I had them pick to win the game, regardless whether Caitlin Clark played or not. I think this is a good sign for the Fever. And the one thing I want to ask y'all before you get into whatever it is you have to say, with this win, does this make the Indiana Fever a contender? And hey Willie, I'm gonna let you lead this off.
I always thought that they were a contender because and then of course when they do this and they do this without Caitlin Clark on the floor, of course it gives them more confidence against the team that came in and lost 2 or 3 games this year. And the other thing when you look at how they made things tough for Minnesota, they can replicate that. It wasn't like Minnesota was missing open shots. Like you said, OG, they made this happen by being physical with Minnesota. That's something you can replicate. You can do it again. You can do it again. You can do it again. And that doesn't mean you're going to get the same results every time when you face a Minnesota team because they're great, but you can replicate that. And that's one of the things that we talk a lot about, teams being physical with Caitlin Clark. Lately, and I said this to the chat, but lately teams have been more and more physical with MVP, right? Like teams have been very physical with her lately. So when she's ready to crash out, right? And V's been on the crash out mission as of late. So whether it's Atlanta, now we got Indiana. But again, one of the common threads are teams that I get why they're doing this, why this is important, because if you're Atlanta, if you're Indiana, that's a team that you want to see down the road. You want to see Minnesota down the road, and you want to set the tone. Okay, yes, this is a regular season game, but if we see you down the road, because we're probably going to have to go through you at some point, we let you know what it's going to be like. And so it was good. I think one of the things that was also, that we see in Minnesota a lot is sometimes when that ball is not whipping around and they rely on, okay, we got to go one-on-one, we got to go one-on-one, we got to go one-on-one. When you reduce them to that, that's where they can struggle a little bit. So when that ball is not moving and then you're like, when it's moving rather, you're like, okay, yeah, we got feed, but all these other people are touching it and getting easier looks. That's what makes them really, really tough. So It was, even though it was a rock fight, like you said, OG, it was a really compelling game for me to watch because I like games like this because now you start seeing the chess match, people making adjustments. We're going to see how skilled you are because when the physicality picks up, it requires more skill. So, I actually enjoy watching these games.
No, I agree. And one thing I failed to mention, Natasha Howard was named the MVP of last night's game, and deservingly so. It could have went either way for her or Aaliyah Boston, but it was a solid choice. Bordy, your thoughts about last night's matchup?
Hey, Willie, you wanted to say something?
I just want to say this real quick. Back to what your point that you made earlier, OG. Like Natasha Howard was another player that we were critical of, and she's playing well. So give her props. Like,
yeah, I apologize because one of the things that I said I didn't like. I didn't know if I liked her as a starter this late in her career, and I mean she's been shutting me up. I think sometimes it's a thing that happens. They got to start playing Timpson more regardless. Because they're going to need her down the stretch, but I think sometimes though she plays past her minutes, and that does play a part, with any player when they play past their minutes in quarters and stuff like that. But I just felt like, long stretches don't do her any justice. The other thing that I like though is, man, she was taking advantage of one-on-ones. Aaliyah Boston was taking advantage of one-on-ones, man. Hey, I'm talking about, man, I was about to pull out my Farrakhan pick with the. Hey, because I mean, me and A Willie done talk religiously. Like, man, when Boston gets committed to being a matchup nightmare, that's gonna make them a different team. Like, and we got to start talking about things that's gonna make it easier for Caitlin Clark. Because, man, I'm here to tell you, all the Clarkies, all the fans. I'm a fan. I'm not a Clarkie though, but I'm a fan. But what I'm saying is, if you want her to get to the mountaintop, things are gonna have to come easier. Like everything can't be a struggle, every possession, or we can't worry about shooting slumps and different things like that. It has to be production from other players that make it easy for her to get into a groove for her game. And that type of player, what we saw last night, it can do that. Now, she also has to be more reluctant here and there. Local threes and all that stuff is cool. It's fun to watch and everything like that when it's going in. But damn it, when it ain't going in, hey, feed Howard, feed Boston more and more in one-on-one sets. Not always drive, create, and dish and stuff like that. Expose matchups is what I'm saying. That makes that you throw it inside, now you getting a break. Like you getting a breather. Like you getting an on-court breather. Bordy, go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I think that this stretch of her not playing is actually a blessing in disguise for the Fever, because we've seen this a lot throughout basketball. Like when you have a star player, when you have somebody who commands the ball as much, who has as much usage, is a heliocentric player, like when they're there, they're pretty much setting everything up. They're the one that's the catalyst to stir the drink to make sure that everything moves. And then suddenly you don't have that drink, then everybody kind of looks around and they're like, well, what now? Right? Well, you're still a very good team. And I think that the Fever needed to realize that even though they didn't have Caitlin Clark, they still had a very deep roster. And if they just share the rock, if they make good cuts, and there are players who can all do that, then that's what Kelsey Mitchell said, honestly. I think like after one of the end of quarter interviews, that if they just like played sound basketball and just share the rock more, good things would happen. That's what I really like, the integration of somebody like Ari McDonald, who like she's not commanding the ball all the time. She is not the person who's setting up plays, but it's another point guard who can just go ahead, share the rock, and remind everybody that it's that connectivity, the energy that keeps things going. Also, Sid Colson played a very good game as well, better than I thought. Better than she has in a while too, because she's also passing the ball, providing that good energy, not only offensively but then defensively as well. Natasha Howard, this is a girl who won the ring in Seattle. This is the Natasha Howard I remember back in the day. She's playing with that energy and effort, and we saw that. And of course, Aaliyah Boston too, especially those 6 assists that you talked about, OG. that is where she can really shine. And that's why I want the Fever in general to share the rock more and have more of that mentality. It's so enticing because you have Caitlyn who can set everything up to just say, hey, Caitlyn, you can do it, right? It's just like how sometimes USC and would do that with Juju Watkins, but the team is much better than the sum of its parts if it works like that and it works as an engine rather than a machine controlled by one person. And I think that they found that, even though Natasha Howard was the leading scorer in the MVP, and shout out because she said she wanted to win MVP. She didn't say what type, but she said she wanted to win MVP. You have players like Aaliyah Boston who were providing, Sophie Cunningham was providing. You talked about Ari McDonald, I was about to say Lexi Brown.
Lexi Hall.
Lexi Hull is also playing good as well. Lexi is playing very well and providing great energy off the bench, cutting as well. Kelsey Mitchell wasn't taking over, but still played well. Again, if they share the rock, good things can happen. And I think this is great for Indiana and hopefully great for Caitlyn too, because there were a lot of those games prior to her being injured where if she didn't try as hard, the Fever could have actually won those games. So hopefully that gets her to calm down and realize there are other options and I don't have to be the superhero to save the day all the time. Okay?
No, no doubt. Before we get out of here, hey Willie, you got anything you want to get off your chest?
Hey, I think we covered it all, man. Like I know we got everybody's in time restraints and all those things, and I don't want to dominate because I have a few things, but we can say that. I would say that.
Go ahead.
Here's what I'm gonna say, y'all. I'm bringing this to life, but you all already know this in the chat. It hurts me to see all of the former Sparks around the league doing their thing. And, every time we talk about a player, I always hit the chat. Former Spark, right? Like, and so watching all of these former Sparks flourish, and then again, as we talked about earlier, seeing Odyssey Sims walk out the door again, is something that when we start talking about boards, where you say about, I know that LA is a major market, but we went through this in New York too, right? Just because you are a major market, are you serious about trying to really put a great product out on the floor? Or are you just saying, hey, since we're in LA, and we're just kind of going through the motions here and having an anchor in LA as one of the legacy franchises in the league. And so that's something that as we move forward, and we're going to see what's going to happen with practice facilities. Are we going to see what's going to happen what's going to be the permanent home for the Sparks? It can't be in Long Beach, right? When they're not playing at Staples Center. It can't be in Long Beach unless you're going to put a new building down. It needs to be somewhere in LA. What are you going to do? So I just say that because we're seeing all these former Sparks around the league flourishing. And part of the reason why they're flourishing, because for a while the franchise has been, I'm not saying the new ownership and new management now, I got to give them time, but it's been a disarray for a little bit. I don't think we were serious about being in the W. We're just one of the staple franchises.
Right. Boredy, you got any last thoughts or anything you missed that you want to put out there?
NBA teams aren't playthings. They're real franchises and deserve the love. Please, if you won't let them live, let us be free, NBA. Please be serious. Come on.
Hey, OG, I'm going to say this about Aaliyah Boston. What you say, you want to post your what meme, your Farrakhan, right?
Yeah.
Hey, AB said on the live yesterday, they forget that we black. That's something.
Hey man, I ain't even. Hey, if you want to,
did she not say that, boys?
She did say that.
Yeah.
Like, how we black here? Come on.
Yeah.
What music we playing? Come on.
Hey, I got a whole post with threads from TikTok videos, from the IG lives. They was having a good time last night. Be on the lookout for tomorrow's games. Las Vegas and Indiana, 7 p.m. on Prime Video. LA Sparks and New York Liberty, 7 p.m. 7:30 Seattle and Atlanta, 8 o'clock Phoenix and Dallas, and then another 8 o'clock game. You have Washington in Minnesota, which is definitely gonna be. I'm a Sonya Citron fan. I'm definitely gonna be tuning into that. I just like the Washington team setup period. Like between Shakira Austin playing well. Let's see if Brittany Sykes is back. But yeah, I just like watching.
Come on, man.
Go ahead.
Talk about Washington. Come on, dog.
Come on, you
Hey,
can't remember. Fight
Come
on,
on, man.
No. I was saving that for A. Willie. That wasn't my call. But be on the lookout for those games tomorrow. And per usual, we are here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch us on the next episode.
Hey, since we were talking about my